I'm gonna go over my concealed carry. That's gonna be the FDEZ WERKZ slide with the Icarus Precision lower. I'm gonna start from top to bottom. Top, I got the Holosun SCS Carry with the green dot, or not green dot, but green reticle. The only thing is, I don't know if you can see it, but there is a purple hue. If that's okay with you, you can deal with it. But I did notice that, and I realized it's not too much of a bother, but it does give me something to adjust. With the FDEZ work, I got the sights, and I was debating whether or not to get the front sight changed out. But after firing the firearm and having a ported comp, this does get gunked up. Okay, so it is important to see what you want or need. I decided not to get the front sight trigger. What the heck? Glow in the dark. But that's me, just because it's gonna get gunked up from the ports and the gas release. It does pop up every once in a while. I would have to wipe it for consistency and all that case. But if you do want it, that's completely up to you in terms of getting that front sight replaced. I went the gold barrel. I didn't realize I should have went the rose gold or black, just because it does get dirty. It does look ugly, or you can clean it every time. It's up to you. Because of that golded barrel, I got the safety selector Gold 2. I go for safety selector as an extra precaution, but also safety for family, for one, or my own safety, because not a lot of people know how to operate a manual safety. Like your gun enthusiasts probably could, but when people initially get a hold of your firearm and forget that there's a safety, even if it's gold, right? People always forget, how do you turn this thing on? And then when they fire, it's clear. Okay, firearm's clear. But when they fire, they forget, oh, crap, safety, which gives you the extra seconds you need if someone does have a hold of your firearm for any reason. Everyone has their own purposes. I have my purposes for my own reasons. Here's the Streamlight TLR7 HLX, powerful light, 1000 lumens, and Candela 22,000 or whatever the case is. With that, it does stick out a little more. I'm willing to sacrifice that so that I can get that powerful light. Now, if I had kept with the other version, I could cut that and actually use the sharp tips on this Icarus Precision to my advantage. But I'm not John Wick, so I'm not gonna do that. Trigger's nice after a couple hundred rounds. I am having a striker fire issue after a couple hundred, and I don't know if it's I just didn't clean it, so I cleaned it, and I'm gonna go out to the range and see if there's an issue. But when I fire consecutively fast after 2 or 3 mag dumps, I realize the striker doesn't fire, and you'll have a light primer strike, and then it will happen for the third mag. It'll just have every once in a while light primer strikes. I'm still trying to figure that thing out. That's after 500 rounds, so keep that in mind. That is one thing about the FDEZ work that I'm having an issue of, so that's something to be cautious of. I have the Align Tactical thumb release that protrudes out a lot more, which is very helpful and I highly recommend it. And one thing I did notice is that noise that this makes. That metal noise, it kind of rings in your ear. It did annoy me, I'll be honest, a little bit, but hey, you got it. It's your love and takes, right? I do love that high tang, and then the beaver tail, that cruise. So it's very nice, and my thumb gets placed right in there, and I love this groove because it forces that whole grip into my hands. So I do love that. Do love the thumb rest is here, perfect for my finger right here. If I do want to rest my finger there for any reason. And then this side, also I love thumb rests. That's me, because it gives me consistent grip, or where I should be gripping every time. So I know my thumb's there, I'm gripping right there. get those grooves right, even like the grooves right here, getting those grooves right, getting that power and control with my firearm to get that consistent drive and recoil mitigation. And that's the main thing, recoil mitigation too. It does help assist a little bit as long as you know what you're doing and don't give you self-limit risk for it. I love everything about this lower. I love almost everything about this lower. The only issue is that little ringing and this magwell. Don't get me wrong, the magwell is nice. Okay, the magwell is nice, but it just protrudes just a little bit more than I would like, which does print just a tad. Other than that, it's very nice. Now, the issue with the 365 lineup, I do realize, and this is for my purposes, okay, everyone's different. I went with the 12 round for my carry for my initial contact if I do need to use this one. In the event that I need a backup, which I would carry if I do need a backup, I'm going to have my backup and put it in there. Now, the only reason why I go 12 first adds that extra concealment. Yes, the magwell, but yes, it's more flesh, so I don't have to deal with that extra inch. But that extra inch does imprint and doesn't make it noticeable if I do conceal it, which is why I don't do the 17 round. I go with the 12 round, and that makes my difference of concealment a lot better and comfortable for me and my family or whoever's with me. But in case of this one, it's my backup. I'm gonna have the 12 rounds. Then I'm gonna drive forward, fire when I need it. Safety is something to get used to. Your thumb just has to build a callus. I'll be honest, your thumb has to build a callus to get used to that control. My left one is not as good as my right one, but I do practice both, so I know what I'm doing for both if I need to use the other. But 365, 12 round, and then 17 rounds back up if need to be. Nice holster setup is the QBO Tactical. I highly recommend them. They are so good with their customer service. I give them big props because I made a mess up and they were able to fix my issue. Get that fabric. As much as some people say don't get it or it's not noticeable difference, I highly recommend it, especially if you're running naked and you don't have it clothing or layers or the hot season, especially the hot season, to get that fabric so it doesn't sweat and get gross on there. You're gonna sweat no matter what, so don't think that this is not gonna stop you from sweating. It's just a nice fabric to have that. I feel it's just that texture is very nice. I don't have to deal with so much of a sweaty texture instead of a more grippy texture. I love the Yakuza Dragons. The only thing is if you get a design, you're gonna get dirty on this side. Your sweat is gonna be in there if you sweat a lot profusely. That's just the only gripe I have about that. If you're going for some color like this, some white or some lighter colors. This fabric, you see the wear and tear, that's gonna happen. All right, just burn the ends if you want to get rid of that loose fabric in the ends. There is a flush placement, but it does stick out just a little bit more for the FDEZ work, even though this one's specifically made for the FDEZ work and the Icarus Precision lower. That's fine though. I still think it's super nice. Right. What else about this? Oh yes, the mag release is accessible. Not as much, but it is accessible. You're covering the trigger, so you're completely fine in that. I'm comfortable with that. With this Icarus Precision lower, it is the Evil Ace, so my knuckles will have to get in there, have to get used to that. When I did have the polymer, it stuck out just a little bit more like this, which was more comfortable to grab. But with it just being just a tad in, I just had to get used to having my knuckles rub against the holster right here. I still have accessibility to the mag release, which is super nice. In the event I need to pull my mag out for some reason, boom, right? So I do love that aspect of the holster. Again, when I had the polymer, it was just a little bit more out, so I had for sure more accessible reach, and my fingers, knuckles didn't get that little groove. But Speaking of retention, still nice. And you see that? That's something you have to get used to. See? You can hear it just a little bit. You can always tighten it. It's up to you. Right now, I'm still running and getting comfortable with what it is. Yes, this is the 365 lineup and my gripes about it. But it is still a nice setup. It's just pricey. If you're willing to sacrifice the money, but also like in the event you need to use it for your concealed carry, you're still gonna sacrifice it. This is a pretty nice setup. I'm still having issues. I'm not gonna lie about that. It's not a perfect gun. I'm still having light primer issues when it's being mag dumped. So that is something I need to work into. I need to figure out with FDEZ Werkz what the issue is, but it is still a nice gun. I'm not gonna lie about that. It's nice to drive for practice, but in terms of reliability, I'm still gonna have some questions about that. FDEZ Werkz and Icarus Precision and the many companies that made everything else that I fully built. That is nice build.